This is a weird one. A really weird one. My name is Harvey Bodega, and welcome to the review of Garage Bad Dream Adventure. How the hell do I explain this? Or this? Or this? I'll get there, but I want to take you through the story of how I even came across this game. A couple years ago, I was plucking through some documents on a lost media website and came across Garage as found media, once considered lost. The short description was that Garage is a 1999 point-and-click adventure game, brainchild of the Surrealist artist Tomomi Yuki Sakuba, and published by Toshiba EMI for Windows and Macintosh. After a Japanese-language-only production run of 3,000 units, Toshiba EMI pulled out of CD-ROM publishing altogether, prematurely ending the production run. Due to the rarity of copies, Garage quickly sunk into a deep obscurity and was considered lost media. There are always those who try to uncover what is lost. A group of enthusiasts on 4chan decided to use their terrible powers for good and raised roughly $2,750 to get their hands on a copy. They preserved the game by making it available online, but ironically, most of these users couldn't read Japanese. So next was a fan-created translation, which finally gave these enthusiasts the experience they so eagerly sought. Truly a triumph, but that's not the version I will be playing today. In 2020, Tomomi Sakuba posted a crowdfunding campaign to fund a mobile re-release of Garage Bad Dream Adventure. It not only met its goal, but exceeded it by 762%, and the remaster released on Android and iOS in December of 2021. Not only were there user interface improvements, remastered graphics, and expansions on a few areas of the game, but this version included an official English translation. This is the version I'll be sharing with you today. Before we even get to the game, I had to salute the community whose unending enthusiasm dragged this game back from the brink. If I were to guess, the aspect of this game that likely contributed to its enduring interest are these visuals. They are what captivated me about the game, and I've never seen anything quite like it. The main character is some sort of melancholic machine with a vaguely aquatic-seeming biological head, and the world has the appearance of a wooden but mechanized Japanese fishing village built over filthy water. The world is dark and feels subterranean, but there are mechanical lights, a factory, and vehicle tracks to navigate around. Garage is also highly inhabited. Almost every resident maintains that art style of a mechanical body with biological fish-like heads, but each unique in personality and appearance. This visual presentation is excellent and makes exploration and dialogue highly intriguing. The music builds on this atmosphere, almost as unique as the visual presentation. There are droning ambient noises, traditional instruments, radio sounds. Some of them are excellent, while others are borderline racket. I know this is subjective, but this one started to drive me crazy. I'm not a fan of staticky, repetitive circus jingle with distant drum roll. Although there are a few locations like that, every track really helps create the tone of each location. Is this a good place? A bad place? Even a peaceful place? Generally, the music is quite solid and really builds on the atmosphere and somber tone of the game. General sound is alright, nothing too grating, and some sounds have a rudimentary charm to them. The presentation is excellent, but the mechanics definitely take some getting used to. As a point-and-click adventure game, navigation is done by tapping on arrows for available routes via the world's network of tracks, and interaction with items or dialogue only takes a tap as well. Even with the game's map, this can quickly become confusing, as directional arrows correspond to the camera's direction. For instance, take a look at where I am. It's easy to tell that the up arrow will take me into that apartment, the arrow to the left will take me northwest, while the right arrow heads southeast, and the bottom arrow will take me to the inner track to the southwest. So let's go ahead and take that bottom arrow. Uh-oh, now the camera has switched around, so the right arrow takes me northwest, and the left arrow takes me southeast. Messing up the directions does get frustrating because you can't cancel the move partway through and have to watch your little guy finish the animation, then watch yourself plug on back to go the right way. This hurts even more as, in addition to being a point-and-click adventure game, Garage is a survival game. The two bars on the right, the ego bar and the fuel bar, result in your death when running out, and they are constantly draining. So if you head in the wrong direction, that's wasted fuel, and refueling costs money, or in this game, stamps. That brings us to the in-game economy. You have to pay stamps for fuel, which powers your mechanics, and refuel your ego, which is basically a liquid that provides life, rendering you unable to speak or move your limbs if it's low enough. Stamps are also required for items and upgrades, and they're necessary to advance the plot at parts. How do you earn them? This is the most disturbing, surreal fishing simulator you'll ever see. Alright, it's not a fishing simulator, but you will do a lot of fishing. You play a little minigame, keeping the indicator on the left out of the red zone by adjusting the tension of the fishing line on the right side. You set bottle traps to collect crabs, use crabs as bait to catch frogs, and a different combination of bait and hooks catches different frogs worth different amounts of stamps. Once you hook the catch of the day, sell them to this guy for your fuel stamps, as God intended. Fishing is a satisfactory enough minigame. This got me thinking, although I haven't played the original PC version, I feel that these mechanics work better for a mobile game. The slow pace of movement, a relatively calm minigame lightly necessary for plot progression, and the explorative style works better for the often more casual, sporadic style of a mobile game. I was even thinking of mentioning in this video that I found it difficult to play this game for too long in one sitting, but isn't that perfect for a mobile setting? If you're playing this on the subway or something, those sitting next to you will just know you're playing a surrealist hellscape fishing planet. Oh, you caught something. What is it? What on this accursed planet is that? This was the first catch I had in Garage, and when I googled what a Gedou meant, I was convinced it was a prank, because it means a fish that someone didn't mean to catch, or heretical doctrine. Both definitions might be equally fitting. Upon some further light research, this is likely a Erechus unicinctus, a marine spoonworm local to East Asia, also known as the fat innkeeper worm, or the penis fish. The world is now a scarier place. We should move on to something, please. The story. Oh, okay. So there are not spoilers in this section, so don't worry about that. The truth is, Garage is a highly symbolic game with a lot of complex themes. An extremely oversimplified plot summary that likely has room for debate goes like this. Garage Bad Dream Adventure starts with this cutscene. It's likely that the events of the game are an adventure taking place in a nightmare world created by this machine called Garage. Within this likely dream world, your task is to learn as much as you can in order to progress and escape. If you are not going to play the game and would like a thorough examination of the game's themes, story, and symbolism, I recommend Dom the Big D's video, which I'll link in the description. His analysis is actually done on the old version of the game with the fan English translation, so you're certain to see some of these differences between versions. I don't know Dom, but he did such a good video that I want to shout it out. Now I know this is going to take many of you listening by surprise, as it did me to play the game, but an aspect of the story that I have to address is Garage's extensive sexual themes. Some of these are very dark. I'll list some of the most serious topics briefly on screen as a heads up. I have to admit that I, a not particularly prudish person, find these to range from uncomfortable to disturbing in Garage. This section will also include light spoilers, so if you want to skip it, feel free to hop forward to the time on screen now. There will be no discussion on these topics anywhere else in the video. Alright, so the fuel you need to survive is actually called Milky Fuel, and the stamps you earn are called Milky Fuel stamps, and you're required to go to a Milky Fuel station to refuel. In asking one of the first characters you meet, Gimnon, about Milky Fuel, he'll tell you, quote, "We get Milky Fuel from female machines, because we male machines can't make Milky Fuel. Female machines can consume crabs and frogs and change them into Milky Fuel," end quote. In elaborating about female machines, he'll say, quote, "Their large stomach is the Milky Fuel maker, and the produced Milky Fuel is stored in their breasts. The stored Milky Fuel can be used as fuel by itself or pumped into a male machine through the fueling pipe," end quote. Male machines, on the other hand, have what's called an output shaft, which is used, quote, "to stir the stomach of a female machine. This is necessary in making Milky Fuel," end quote. So this is what it looks like when you pay to purchase a refill on your Milky Fuel. A very transactional event takes place, opening this hatch on the female machine in order to stir her stomach's contents to make Milky Fuel, which is quite similar in appearance to female genitalia. These Milky Fuel stations are all run by male machines of questionable character, and, explored further in the plot, female machines have been abused, mistreated, and in many cases killed. Their surviving females have had their memories wiped and are almost entirely employed in these Milky Fuel stations for the maintenance of male machines. A shocking cutscene later portrays a character with both female and male characteristics, having the contents of their stomach stirred by a male character against their will, in a representation of sexual assault. Another female character discovered near the end of the game had been grossly modified to have such an extremely high-capacity stomach for Milky Fuel production that she's unable to move and just functions as an imprisoned fuel dispenser. I mean, these topics are dark. I didn't expect topics like these in Garage and wondered if the sexuality of the game had been exaggerated in the remaster. The opposite's true. The remake actually censored many original aspects, especially with cutscenes and the few human-appearing characters. I found myself uncomfortable and disturbed, but I know that's almost certainly the point. The whole game has a disturbing art style, and due to the heavily symbolic nature of the story, messages about sex, the dark recesses of the subconscious, and depravity are intended. That being said, due to the graphic nature and seriousness of topics explored, I can't recommend this game without including a disclaimer, and it's definitely not for everybody. Alright, with that addressed, let's focus on the way you advance the story. There are no quest markers and sometimes no indication of what to do next at all. You have to wander around the world and figure it out. Once I realized that progression was laid out like this, I began to get scared of the adventure game purgatory. I'm sure anyone that has played games of this genre has found themselves stuck, either due to a potential soft lock, pixel hunting for a necessary item, or some bizarre illogical puzzle halting progression. For the first half of the game, I was constantly worried I would run out of leads in solving the mystery of what to do next, cursed to a Promethean eternity of wandering around aimlessly. This never happened. Garage constantly has subtle nods in the right direction. If you're not sure what to do next, go talk to any character about it. They'll speak to you as if you already asked them about your task, and will have new responses when you have a new task to ask about. Their guidance is usually direct enough to roughly know what to do, while vague enough to require a little bit of trial and error or deduction to progress. When you figure out what you have to do, you feel like a smarty. I really ended up enjoying this aspect for the first 2/3 of the game, but as new areas were unlocked and many more characters introduced, going around and speaking with almost all of them with each new task could get very tedious. It did build characterization as I was constantly speaking with each of these characters, and I became kind of attached to some of them, but the last third of the game really seemed to drag in my humble opinion. Don't worry about pixel hunting though, as this is a mobile game. Interactable items mostly have a slight glow to them, and only once did I have to tap around to find what I was seeking. I think Garage progresses its story well and avoids some of those dreaded adventure game pitfalls. Alright, so there's a short review of Garage. The game's atmosphere speaks for itself, with visuals unlike any I've experienced, and suitably haunting music. If the mature themes don't bother you, feel free to try it out on Android or Apple. I think it was $4.99. This game was brought back from the brink by an enthusiastic community not even able to read the game's original language. The fact that we have the option to play it today, I greatly attribute to these fans. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to have more content for you soon. Thank you.